I did buy vanilla. I did use it up. But then I had also when I bought the vanilla, I also bought a brown sugar cinnamon one. And I did not use that one up. And I was like, this is so silly. I don't really need flavored syrups.
Welcome to Didn't I Just Feed You?
A podcast about feeding kids.
Hi, I'm Megan.
And I'm Stacy. And you guys, today we're going to pretend we're beauty influencers. It's my favorite alternate career. We're going to talk through our empties, like our pantry ingredients. So this was inspired by you, Megan. You've seen a lot of beauty influencers just kind of take out their stuff and say, these are the products I actually used this month or in these last few months, and I use them up. And this is the stuff that I got, but I didn't use it so much, right?
Exactly.
Okay. But before we get into that, do you want more of us each week? Don't answer that.
Of course you do.
Don't answer that. We're just going to tell you how you can get 2 bonus episodes from us every single month for just $10.
Combined with our regular weekly episodes, our every other week, what we're cooking and eating now episodes, those bonus episodes means that you get us in your earbuds 8 times a month. Bonus episode content isn't published anywhere else and includes everything from bonus questions with guests to listeners' questions. We talk about body image, our favorite cookbooks, and more personal stuff like how annoying our kids are. Visit didn'tijustfeedyou.com/community to sign up. And I'll just tease, last week's listeners group episode is a little bit related to this, where we talked about magic meals and the sauces and pantry ingredients that we buy that make back pocket dinners actually delicious and satisfying. And I don't mind saying so. I think it's a really great episode.
Yes, I love it. Okay. So I kind of already explained the concept, generally speaking. Would you want to add something to this? This was your vision.
I know. And I really kind of put you on the spot with it. And I feel fine about that.
That's why I love you.
Empties is a thing in the beauty community. And I think this is probably really true for food influencers too. We get sent products, we buy things for one-off recipes. There are things that we get excited about and we buy with our own money. And we're like, oh yes, we're totally going to use these. And so we might share products that we have received, but then you don't hear anything else about it, at least in the food influencer space. But beauty influencers do this thing where they're like, I'm going to show you my empties. So they might do it once a month or once a quarter and be like, these are the products that I actually used up to the point of them being empty and me needing to replace them. I don't think we should include things like canned beans where it's I probably go through canned beans once a week, but then there's other stuff that I buy and use less regularly, or I buy because I think I get because I'm excited about it and maybe don't use up. So I think we should do a little bit of both. We should talk through some of the things we've purchased recently, within the last year, and whether we've used them up or not. We can do a session of things we have used up recently and the ways that we use them. And then maybe we can talk about some of the things that we've each purchased and are lingering in our pantry and how we might use them up.
I love it. Do you want to start?
Sure. I'll go first. So you're not quite so on the spot. No one should be surprised that some of mine are sweet and baking related, but apricot jam I bought for a recipe. I can't even remember what it was now. I think it was a Didn't I Just Feed You recipe. And I thought, I'm buying this 16-ounce jar of apricot jam. I'm never going to use it up. And then I flew through it. So apricot jam is one of those things, you see it a lot in baking recipes as a glaze, especially for things like danishes, sweet croissants, sweet breads. You dilute it with a little bit of warm water and then you brush it on either in the last little bit of baking or right after something comes out of the oven. And it makes it shiny and gives it a sweet, sticky texture on the outside. It's also really awesome for sweetening dressings, sweetening yogurt. I have used it up the most recently making a sweet and sour sauce. It can be the base with a little bit of rice wine vinegar and some tamari or soy sauce. and like some chili crunch or garlic chili paste. It's also really great, like if you're grilling pork chops or pork
I was
tenderloin.
going to say that's one of my favorite savory applications. It's just basting a pork loin with it.
Yeah, and I think I forgot about it. I bought I never know how to say the name, but they have the checkered
Bon Mar or
Marie.
something. We'll have the
link to it. But I just bought their classic like apricot jam and we blew through it just like on those things. I did a pork tenderloin on the grill. I made sweet and sour chicken one night. We ate it on biscuits also, honestly.
I was going to say apricot's my favorite jam in general. Like when I go to the store, I'll either buy raspberry or apricot because I like it just on toast.
I love that. I don't know why I don't think of it. I buy strawberry jam as a matter of course because that's Ella's favorite, and she's the real jam eater in the house.
That's so interesting. And can I just jump ahead? Like, can we go back and forth a little bit? Because one of the things on my list is that peach season is done, and I'm very sad about it. Peaches and nectarines are my favorites. And American Spoon Foods, do you know that brand?
I think you've mentioned it before.
I love that brand
why I know
so
it.
much. So their catalog came and I was flipping through it and I saw that they have like a limited time peach jam. And I was like, oh my gosh, that. So I bought it and I've been using that up. I'm not quite done, but I would say nearly every other day between like toast or cooking with it. All the same ways that you can use apricot jam. It's just it has a slightly different taste. It tastes a little like peachier. Apricot jam to me is a little bit more neutral sweet, if that makes any sense.
And it like sweet. Whereas like I think of peach jam, it has a little bit of lovely tartness to it.
Exactly. So I'm so with you on this. I love it.
Okay, I love a surprise where we're both like empties of our jams. Another baking ingredient, which is vanilla bean paste. Listen.
Okay, I'm so excited to talk about this.
I don't think I am like hard pressed to tell anyone that they should just buy vanilla extract anymore. I feel like everyone should buy vanilla bean paste, but it is like very expensive. It's like the Tata Harper is that the name of that brand? I'm trying to be like a skincare influencer and I don't know any of them.
I was like, what is she talking about?
It's like the Tata Harper of baking ingredients because it's very expensive compared to vanilla extract. But vanilla bean paste is basically they soak the vanilla beans for you and then push all the pulp out and you get this lovely thick but pourable paste that is studded with the vanilla seed flecks in it.
Yep.
So it feels like so incredibly luxurious. And yes, I'm like primarily using it for like cookies and quick breads and Rice Krispie treats. But the problem is that recently I've been putting it in my coffee.
Yes, I did that. Okay, go ahead. I'm so excited about this.
I feel like that is like, it's like $1. I'm probably using like $1 of vanilla bean paste every week just in coffee. But because I don't buy like the flavored syrups, which is a thing I know that you buy, and because you've shared it like on Didn't I Just Feed You reel, I just feel like then I can have instant vanilla syrup in my iced coffee or my hot coffee by just like adding granulated sugar and a little bit of the vanilla bean paste. And it makes me feel fancy.
Okay. So first of all, we also have an episode in our listener group, a recent one on small things we do to feel fancy that I want to give a shout out to because that's another great one in our community. I'm so glad. Again, there's synergy here. I actually don't buy flavored syrups as a matter of course. And I was going to bring them up as one of my things because I did buy vanilla. I did use it up. But then I had also when I bought the vanilla, I also bought a like brown sugar cinnamon one. And I did not use that one up. And I was like, this is so silly. I don't really need flavored syrups. I did really enjoy the vanilla and I did use that one up. So what's another way that I can achieve the same thing? And I went into my pantry to get some vanilla extract and I found vanilla bean paste that I bought and didn't use. So that was on my list for things that I don't use up. But I have been using it little by little in my coffee. So there's like a lot of synergy here, even though I'm giving mixed messages. Like I've used stuff up that I don't think is worth buying, the syrups. And then I have been using the vanilla bean paste, but actually I'm using it kind of out of desperation because it's been sitting in there forever.
It has a really long shelf life, so I don't think you should be stressed about it. And that this is the point of the episode, like that someone would listen and be like, oh, I have the vanilla bean paste, but I only want to use that for like special occasions. And I'm telling you, like, no, just let's use it all the time. Also, if the syrup is more convenient for you, you could totally make like a thicker, simple syrup and add the vanilla bean paste to it, or buy like artificial vanilla, which has, we talked about this with Jessie Sheehan. It has that Turini syrup vibe to it. It's like more that florally vanilla that we think of like artificial, that we think is like artificial and is, but like it'll give you that Starbucks vanilla vibe.
So that's what I've been doing. For. I either make or buy simple syrup. I almost always have simple syrup in my fridge. So I'll just use a little bit of simple syrup and a little bit of vanilla extract or recently vanilla bean paste to give my coffee a little bit of a vanilla flavor. But I don't use it. So can you just talk us through why vanilla bean paste is worth it given the cost? Because I hear you that we can use it in like, you don't have to save it for a special occasion, but then how is it different than vanilla extract that it's worth that extra money?
That's a great question. I feel like it's very much this sweet spot, especially in regards to cost, between vanilla extract and buying whole vanilla beans and like really trying to make the most of them. You'll see like a lot of professional bakers, they're like, oh, I make my own vanilla extract by taking whole vanilla beans, which are very expensive. Like they can be as much as $20 a bean, depending on the quality and like which type of vanilla they're from. So they'll take like they'll buy like $100 worth of vanilla beans and cover them in bourbon or vodka and like let them soak. And then they're getting like vanilla extract, but then they have these very plump, hydrated beans that they can cut open and spoon out the seeds of. So vanilla bean paste is actually like the sort of like squeezed out pulp that's been hydrated. And so you're getting all the flavor of vanilla extract and all the aroma and the beautiful color and texture of like fresh vanilla beans without having to do the labor of like soaking them and scraping them and then having to decide what to do with the pods. And for reference, I feel like a jar of like really nice vanilla extract is maybe $15.
Yeah.
And if you're buying, like I said, vanilla beans, you could spend up to $20 just on one bean, which you could maybe get like 4 uses out of, depending on how fastidious you are about that. And vanilla bean paste, like the same size jar, is like $25. So it's like really a deal for much better quality. And you're taking some of the labor of like making your own vanilla extract, plumping your beans, cutting them open, cleaning them out.
Okay. And can we just have like the 3-second not professional baker version? Like, is vanilla bean paste have a richer flavor?
Yes.
Great.
Richer flavor, better aroma, and it's prettier.
Awesome. I do actually get enjoyment out of how pretty it is. Those flecks. I used to love Breyer's ice cream, vanilla ice cream over other brands just because of those flecks.
Yes.
Like 100%.
And I didn't mention it, but like putting it in yogurt. If you like to buy like unsweetened Greek yogurt, but your kids love like sweetened yogurt, you can use a little less sweetener, do a little vanilla bean paste, and they're like, oh, and be like, oh, it's vanilla yogurt, and they like think that you're a wizard.
I love it. So just because we're here, instead of like jumping all over the map, I'm going to say that simple syrup was also on my list. I referenced it. But it's kind of like what you're saying about vanilla bean paste. I feel like those flavored syrups, I use the vanilla all up, but I used it exclusively in my coffee. I feel like regular simple syrup is more flexible. So like I could still have vanilla sweetened coffee by using simple syrup plus some vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. And then I could also use it for cocktails and for other things where I wanted sweetness, but not necessarily vanilla. So I make mine 1-to-1. Some people make their simple syrup 1-to-1, meaning like for every cup of sugar, you have 1 cup of water. Some people do rich simple syrup. I know for cocktails, it's really popular where you do 2 cups of sugar for every cup of water and then get a thicker, richer, sweeter syrup that's more concentrated.
Also, bakers.
Oh, bakers use
Yes.
the rich simple
Yeah,
syrup? Yeah.
the rich simple syrup is like what you'll see is sometimes labeled if you buy it in the grocery store as like cake syrup. You use it for like hydrating the layers of a cake.
Yep.
If you're building layered cake, it's also great if you over bake like a banana bread or something, you can brush it on top.
So I just love having simple syrup around all the time.
Yes.
And
And you were
put it in my
saying
fridge.
you can buy it.
You can. Yes.
But it's really easy to make. And if you're like, oh, I am thinking about like cocktails and coffee, you could make like a big batch of simple syrup and then divide it into like 2 or 3 jars and do like one that's just straight up for whatever you might want it for, one that's like vanilla and cinnamon for your coffee, and one that's like citrusy, like citrus and mint for cocktails if you wanted to. So another reason to make
it homemade. Okay. What else?
Okay. I mentioned actually in the listeners group exclusive how much I love this soy vey teriyaki sauce. And I had a funny thing recently with a grocery delivery order where they must have been out of the regular soy vey. So they brought me like the soy vey pineapple version of their teriyaki sauce. And I was
Were
like,
you excited or annoyed?
no, I was so pissed. I was like, I'm never going to use this up as much. And I found the opposite is true. Like there's something about the sweetness of it where I've actually taken it from like just doing like teriyaki chicken or like teriyaki flank steak to drizzling it over roasted vegetables because that like sweetness counters. And so it's a way that even if we're not having something teriyaki adjacent as like our main, if I roast vegetables, it's like
it still works.
A little finisher.
Ooh.
And maybe that's not a lot of like ideas of how to use it up, but even just that, like having one more flavor for like steamed or roasted veggies has been really helpful.
That's awesome.
And so that is an empty on my counter right now. Okay, what about you? What sort of like savory sauces are you using up right now?
Okay, so I'm going to do actually one more sweet thing.
Okay.
But it's a sweet thing that I didn't use. I got caught up at one point. I get my black cocoa and my double Dutch process. Is that what it's called? Cocoa, which is a combination of Dutch processed and black cocoa from King Arthur flour. And so every time I run out, I go onto the site and I poke around to see what else is there. And I always get sucked into something. And the most recent thing I got sucked into were caramel chips because Oliver's favorite flavor is salted caramel. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to use these all the time. We're going to add them to snickerdoodles, to blondies, blah, blah, blah. We got them. He was so excited. I was so excited. And like, I don't think we've used them once.
Like at all? You haven't even tasted them?
No, we tasted them.
Okay.
Like we tasted them in our hands. And I think like a couple of times, like for dessert, like desperation dessert, you know, when there isn't really much dessert in the house and like he wanted something.
Yeah.
He like went rummaging and was like, oh, I'll just have a handful of these. Or like he put them in his yogurt or something. But totally haven't been used. I don't know. They just like aren't really inspiring us.
Okay.
It's not really the flavor. They're good, but it wasn't. He likes salted caramel and he likes gooiness.
Yes, it's a texture.
Like I bet we would have gone through more like just if I bought like craft caramels.
Yes.
And threw those in blondies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, although they can melt out depending on how you use them. So
yeah, I've seen them like in the middle of cookies.
Yeah.
People seem to like them.
Do you need ideas for how to use them up or?
I mean, I just named the ones that we were excited to do, but I don't think, what else would you do with them? I don't like the texture. The way they melt is kind of funny. They aren't quite, they're a little chalkier than a really yummy, melty chocolate chip.
Okay. Brian's family calls it trash, but you might know it as like puppy chow. There's lots of like variations on it.
Yes.
Brian's family's version is not the cocoa version, which is what I think of as puppy chow, but Brian's mom does butterscotch chips And so when you set in, like, melts those with the peanut butter and then does like the powdered sugar coating on the
Great
Chex
idea.
Mix.
Okay.
And when you said caramel chips, I was like, ooh, that would probably be good on trash. And then knowing that they're kind of chalky, it sounds like they need like some fat mixed in with
Yes,
them.
they
Yeah.
totally do. Yes. So that's a great, and I bet that will use
Like a whole
half a
bag.
bag. Yeah.
Unless
Like,
it's
I bet you
huge.
that's
Is it like a standard
no, it isn't
chip
huge.
bag?
It'll probably use the whole bag. Yeah, we'll probably use the whole bag, but like 1 or 2 batches and we'll be good. So that's great. So those are my baking exploits. I think that I also found in my cupboard, because I just did a back to school clean out,
Yeah.
bread and cake enhancer.
Okay.
I'm like, why did I buy this? Like, I don't even know
You
what
were
this
trying to get
is.
free
Like,
shipping at King Arthur.
I don't even bake bread. I barely bake cakes. Like, this was dumb, but I got real excited. So there you go. I think being real about your baking, this goes back to our episode with Jessie Sheehan,
Yes.
right?
Like, what are you
I think just
really
being
going to
real.
do?
What are you really going to do? Like, if you're really into it and it's soothing and it's a hobby and you're learning, our producer, Samantha Gatzik, has had such an incredible baking journey,
Yes.
right? Where she's like, she loves doing it. And now she's doing it as like a
side
very
hustle.
serious hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, hobby that's turned into exactly a side hustle. Like, that ain't me.
We should link to her bake shop Instagram, because if you're in New York, you can get things from her occasionally. I did wonder, well, now I'm like, oh, you should just give your bread and cake enhancer to Sam. But also,
I should.
I haven't used that product like since probably culinary school, which is like 15 years ago. But I wonder if you could, I'm asking this actually as a question, like just add it to your flour, like your whole big thing of flour or cake flour, and like whisk it in. And then it's just like in there while you bake for the future.
Great
I don't
idea.
know.
What is it? What is it?
What is it? I actually,
what is enhancer? Anyway, so that's our baking stuff. This isn't a pantry sauce. Well, it is. Okay. Let's talk about the brand. Momofuku has been releasing a whole bunch of products slowly but surely. They have a chili crisp that I bought because I have chili. Chili crisp doesn't go super fast.
yeah.
So I have a chili crisp at home in Brooklyn. And then over the summer, I bought the Momofuku brand because that's what I saw around, so that we could have a chili crisp up at the country house. And the Momofuku one is so delicious that when I came back to Brooklyn and ate the one I have here, which is also delicious, I was like, I can't eat this. I need my Momofuku
What
chili
do you
crisp.
think it is? Because I haven't like examined the labels, but I agree. We like flew through it, the one that I bought, and now we have like just a kind of basic grocery store chili crisp, like not even a brand I like know or recognize, and it's not the same. It is not the same.
It is not the same. And let me tell you that chili crisp is something that you use pretty sparingly, right? But this is kind of like, I'm using it up. I ended up using it on my breakfast. I loved it so much. So I'll drizzle it over hard-boiled eggs. Then one day I had a bowl of cottage cheese with fresh peaches, but it'd be just as good with thawed frozen peaches and chili crisp. And it was the Momofuku brand because I tried it at home and I was like, this isn't hitting the same. It was so good. So I guess this goes to say that, like, when you find one that has a flavor that you really love and crave, you might find yourself using it like way more in unexpected ways. Like on my sandwich, on like everything, just because it's so yummy to me.
Yes.
And this isn't really a condiment, but I also got the Momofuku noodles because I was so curious. They've been like everywhere on social media.
I've shared about them.
You did too?
Yeah.
I know
we've
I've
talked
seen them
about
like
it.
so much. Okay. They're delicious too. My kids love them.
Okay, my kids hate them.
Oh, my kids love them. The scallion and soy, they're so into.
They're so good. They have like the best like chewy texture, and I love how although I think I've griped about how like if you look at the flavor package ingredients, it's like soy sauce, rice wine vinegar and sesame oil. I'm like, I have all these things, but there's something about like it being in a little packet and like you can just add it. It's so good.
Yes. It's so good.
Emmett complains they're too bouncy. So we reserve that like if we do ramen night, they get sort of like the basic top ramen still. And we'll use the Momofuku for grown-ups.
I love them. And the tingly chili is so good too.
So good.
And when Isaac was sick, I was doing, because he needs 2 packages of noodles as a portion.
Yeah.
But I would do 2 packages of noodles. I do find the soy and scallion a little bit salty.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 packages of noodles, 1 package of the soy sauce, both packages of the dehydrated scallions, and then butter.
Yum.
And like he ate that a ton when he was sick. It was like the perfect sicky food.
Yes. Also,
move over homemade chicken soup.
I don't know if this is universal, but I have been able to reliably find the noodles, the scallion and soy at my Target in their food section. So like if you want to try them and you don't want to pay for shipping, that's a hot tip. Before we get into the rest of this week's episode, let's take a quick break to hear from this week's sponsors.
As we move into fall and winter cooking, we're stocking up on broth, the building block of our favorite soups, stews, and holiday dishes. While we love making homemade stock, that just isn't always possible.
Which is why we asked Zoop to return as a sponsor. And y'all, they said yes. We couldn't be more excited to welcome them back. And the timing couldn't be more perfect for their super premium broths.
Zoop makes it easy to add rich, homemade taste to all your cooking. Their flavor-forward broths include chicken, beef, veggie, and seafood, plus bone broths that you can sip. And now Zoop also offers culinary concentrates, small batch broth concentrates, and heat and eat soups.
I'm obsessed with the culinary concentrates. They have unbeatable flavor, great for making sauces and boosting casseroles, pasta, and rice dishes. 1 8-ounce jar makes up to 10 quarts of restaurant quality broth.
I also love Zoop soups. Each small batch made soup starts with one of Zoop's homestyle broths, giving it a simmered all day flavor. It's a perfect quick meal, whether for dinner or a work from home lunch.
Just like their broths, Zoop culinary concentrates and heat and eat soups are free of preservatives, artificial ingredients, and gluten. And everything comes packaged in recyclable glass containers.
To learn more about why we love Zoop so much and to browse recipes too, visit zoopbroth.com or go to @ZoopGoodReallyGood on Facebook and Instagram.
Zoop Good, Really Good Broth, culinary concentrates, and soups can be found at retailers nationwide, including Walmart, Sprouts, and Kroger, plus online at zoopbroth.com.
Or order from Amazon and be sure to use our code to get 20% off your order through November 6th. It's 20FEEDOCT, short for October. That's 20FEEDOCT.
Y'all, by now you know that we're huge fans of KiwiCo.
And actually, it's not just us. Our kids are big fans too. And Yummy Crate, the latest KiwiCo subscription line, has only made them even more excited to tear into their monthly KiwiCo delivery.
Even better than the kids being excited, Yummy Crate has gotten my daughter so excited about cooking that she's looking forward to helping prep school lunches and even help make dinner on some nights.
That's amazing. And you know what, Megan? We have proof of that too. This summer on Instagram, we shared the burgers that she made with one of her recent Yummy Crates. And I say that counts as full-on dinner help. Plus, they looked delicious.
They were, and the whole process was simple too. Each month, Yummy Crate delivers high-quality kitchen tools, 3 recipes, and 2 projects that teach kitchen skills and get kids cooking. Before each crate arrives, you also get a shopping list that includes alternative ingredients to accommodate different diets from vegetarian to vegan. Done and done.
KiwiCo is designed to foster a love of science and cooking in kids ages 6 to 14 with recipes and activities that explore hands-on experimentation. And there it is, all really happening in your very own kitchen.
And it can happen in yours too. Feed your kids curiosity this fall with hands-on kitchen experiments with Yummy Crate from KiwiCo. It's easy with no commitment. You can pause or cancel anytime.
And didn't I just feed you listeners get 50% off their first month plus free shipping with the code DIJFY at kiwico.com.
That's 50% off your first month at KIWICO.com. promo code DIJFY, short for Didn't I Just Feed You?
While we're talking about foods from the Asian diaspora, so one of my favorite dishes, Chinese food dishes, is mapo tofu. And I was like, I get through these checks where I'm like, I'm going to make that at home. And then I end up going onto Amazon and I buy dark soy sauce and sweet soy sauce and fermented black beans. And like I buy all the things and I do it once or twice. And then I still have all the things. So, if you really love, there are certain things like dark soy sauce is the one that comes to mind. It's different than the regular soy sauce, than the regular shoyu that you're going to get at the supermarket. It's a little bit thicker. It's a little bit sweeter. There are a couple of variations. And even Kenji's wok cookbook will call for this ingredient that's pretty easy to find at an international market or through Amazon, but it does come in big bottles. And I just don't cook. I think it's a cooking style thing versus a taste thing. I just don't use it up enough.
Yeah.
And then it's like a year and a half later and I still have half a bottle and I'm like, is this good anymore?
Most of those things, especially because it's aged, fermented anyways before it's bottled, they do have a long shelf life. But I have to tell you, I have had that experience with the sauces. Like I bought them.
Oh.
And I bought them like earlier in this year. And I've have given a couple away. I've used like 3 or 4, but because I bought a starter pack, I still have like a large number of them in my pantry. And I think it's because
that's so interesting.
I'm just like trained in my brain, like, oh, I'm making something. I'm going to pull out like the garlic chili paste and the tamari and like some lime juice and just throw together a sauce rather than like having those flavors in like a pre-packaged sauce.
That's so interesting because I use up all my stuff.
Yes.
But I use it as a shortcut because I'm like, it's a way to avoid buying the dark soy sauce and the lemongrass and the thing and all the things that I'm not going to use up.
Yeah.
It to me, the flavors deliver bigger than any sauce I can throw together with just chili crisp, soy sauce, ginger, garlic.
Yeah. I think this is like so interesting, and like why I'm so glad we did this episode is because we talk a lot about helping people to be the cook that they are, like not saying like all the advice, anything we share, like none of it's truly prescriptive because we don't know what your cooking style is like, what your budget is like, etc.
Totally.
And like I think this is just a great picture of like, you're like, I buy the because I like don't want to think about the sauce. And I'm like, I want to buy the dark soy sauce and like figure out all the ways to use it up instead because I don't use the shortcut, that particular shortcut as much. And I think it's just like cooking style.
Yeah. And that's also like the baking stuff. Like I should not buy ambitious baking stuff unless I'm like, this is a discrete project that I'm going to do right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do it either for work or for myself and I know, and then I'll buy it. Like I'm not that kind of baker. Like I do not need bread enhancer. That's insane. What was I thinking?
Can I like throw at you one of the things I bought recently and haven't been able to use up? And I feel like maybe you will be able to help me. I bought like fermented garlic paste or black garlic paste. It's not a very large container of it, but I haven't figured out like how I'm using that up.
Yeah, I'm stuck too. I don't think I'd buy that because I'd be afraid. Have you tried using it just like on garlic bread?
I haven't because it's like so black. I mean, I would enjoy that. I'm fearful my kids would be like, WTF.
Halloween
did add it to guacamole recently, and that was really good. But then I felt...
Did it change the color?
Not like when we were eating it, but the leftovers got dark really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very flavorful. You only need a little bit of it. But like maybe I should be putting it in marinades and like on noodles and stuff more.
I feel like marinades, it might get lost.
Yeah.
And then it's like wasted. I love the idea of noodles. And I feel like soup and stew season.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, thinking about it as layering that garlic flavor where you use some like fresh garlic and onion, as your like base for your soups and your stews, but then maybe finish with it. I would do that.
Yeah.
And then How about like, okay, this is such a weird thought, an
I love
idea.
it. You know I'm down for it.
Like basting it onto like grilled meats. I'm thinking about like Middle Eastern meats,
Mm.
like I recently talked in a What We're Cooking and Eating Now about like zucchini turkey burgers. And it has tons of stuff in there. It's like all different herbs. They're very flavorful. But like kofta or like lamb, like adding it to your basting
Yeah.
of grilled meats, I bet it'd be really
I
delicious.
think that's super smart. I'm also now like, ooh, could you put it like melt it with a little butter and have it on popcorn? Even if the kids wouldn't be
Oh,
into
I
that.
love that. Garlic Parmesan popcorn.
Yeah. I have a bunch of Chex that I bought to make snack mix because we just have like a lot of bits and bobs, like open pretzels and Cheez-Its and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I need to figure out a way to use those all up. And I wonder if I could like in the butter and like seasoned salt stuff that you put over the snack mix, add some of the garlic paste because then it won't get super cooked off because you cook that stuff at like a low temperature.
What about a garlic soup?
Say more.
Like that's a traditional thing. I feel like I've had garlic soup. Is it Spanish? I don't know. I feel like I've had it before. But if you look up garlic soup, you'll find
Okay.
something.
Okay.
But like a very garlic forward soup. And then also Greeks and Middle Easterns, we have something called scordalia. I can never say that quite right, even though it's a Greek word. And then there's also toum, which is a more Middle Eastern style, but making like a garlic dip.
But toum is like, it's like just garlic and water and like salt and maybe a little oil. And you just like whip the out of it to get it to.
And it emulsifies like, it's so great.
But then it's white.
It is white, but who cares? Again, like,
doesn't matter.
Could be, and the Greek version, we use boiled potatoes and plain garlic. So it's also really white. But also for Halloween.
You're like,
I feel like you need to make all your Halloween food.
Fermented garlic flavor.
A dark dip. I feel like a garlic dip would be good. Or like a garlic spread for sandwiches.
Bean dip and probably even hummus. Like the color wouldn't be like too obvious, I think.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of thing where you have to embrace the color.
I think so.
Or otherwise you're using it in tiny, tiny amounts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that it kind of disappears.
Okay. Thank you for talking me through that. What else is on your list?
I want to talk about miso paste for a second.
Okay.
Because I buy multiple kinds of miso paste. And I do eventually use it up. But I'll have like jags where I'm using miso paste all the time. Like on my eggplant, on my vegetables, to make a salad dressing, to make soup. And then I'll kind of forget about it because it's in the back of my fridge. But one thing I like about miso paste is that literally with confidence, you can leave it back there for a very long time. Do you use up miso paste? Like, is it always in your fridge?
I always have miso paste in my fridge, usually two kinds, like a lighter miso paste and a darker miso paste. This question actually came up in the listeners group recently. Someone was like, what do I buy? So I use it a lot. Like instead of omsum, like I make a sauce with miso and like whatever else. It's really good mixed with like the apricot jam and put on fish. But I don't feel this pressure to use it up like you. Like it's something I always have. And I never sweat if I haven't like used up very much of it. It seems like it doesn't take up a lot of room. It seems easy to just have it in there.
Totally. So I do want to encourage people to get it because I think that it's really great. And that, we've talked about things that are great that we don't use up. And we're talking about embracing your cooking style. But miso paste really will last for years.
Yes.
So you can buy it and just kind of experiment. Start with one kind. I would start with light if you're going to only buy one kind.
I agree. So I need to share two things. One is that our former guest, Eric Kim, in his, he writes for New York Times food section. He, in September, shared this really beautiful story and recipe for miso soup, which sounds like very essential, but I think it's moving away from the Americanized version, which we did on Good Eats years ago, where it's like, you have to do XYZ and you have to cube the tofu. And the photo I saw of it made me really want to make it because I think it's silken tofu in there. And it's like this beautiful steak of tofu in this beautiful looking broth. So even if you only make miso soup for it, especially going into cold and flu season, into winter, that's such an easy thing to whip together for yourself for lunch or for your kids for dinner. And like, I kind of forget about it in the summer. And now I'm like ready to start making it again.
Yes.
The other thing I was going to share is when my brother was here house sitting for us this summer, he made miso soup for him and his girlfriend. And watching him make it, where he's like literally never made miso soup, he didn't look up a recipe. It was like the most challenging thing of all time.
Did he do a good job?
No, he did. A mediocre job, I'll say.
I think that's pretty amazing to be able to do a mediocre job when you've never done anything like that. Like, that's pretty good to jump in and do.
Yeah.
Like, when I've never done things, like, I suck at first. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was like, even that he just jumped in, he didn't think about it. But I think the thing that maybe made it less than great was that he leaned really hard into the dark miso. And I was like, oh, it should be like
intense.
A little bit balanced. Yes. So I like that you were like, you should start with light. Like, start with light.
I
it's
definitely
like
think people should start with light.
Easy and mellow and like not quite as pungent as dark or red miso.
Speaking of beginner cooks, Oliver recently was at the supermarket with me. Must have still been over the summer. And he saw Mayo Chap. And I was like, I don't need to buy Mayo Chap. Like, that's...
Yes. Like, we can make that. We have the technology.
Like, for real. And he was like, no, I must have Mayo Chap. And I was like, fine, buy the Mayo Chap. We went through that Mayo Chap like...
You did? I thought we were going to try... I was like getting ready to brainstorm ideas for you, but...
No.
Okay, so how do you use it?
I mean, just all the ways you would use
it. For fries, burgers.
Fries, burgers. They used it on hot dogs, but like it just got used. And I realized, there's certain convenience products that you can't explain. They're stupid. Like, I used to look at packages of those vacuum sealed packages of rice or pasta and think, we've gone too far, you guys. Like, this is so dumb. Who can't boil a pot of water and cook pasta? But then I found a use for it with my teenagers, and it's really convenient.
Yeah.
Because they really won't boil a pot of water and cook the pasta. And that small portion of pasta that they can just microwave is really convenient. You have found the same thing with Ella and the mac and cheese from the microwave, and she likes it. So fine. It was just one of those, it's funny when you find convenience products that are kind of dumb, but then just work for your life. Like, everybody reached for the Mayo Chap because they want ketchup and mayo, but they are too lazy to mix ketchup and mayo. So Mayo Chap it is.
Oh my gosh.
I was pretty amazed.
I love it so much. And I'm like very hopeful that everyone like in our community will hop in and we can start a thread of like, what are the things? Like, that's how I feel about apricot jam. I'm like, do I really need to buy this for like the tablespoon I need for this glaze for this recipe? And then I remembered how wonderful it is to have on hand and like used it up really quickly. So
let's take it. Go ahead.
No, you take it. No, you go.
Okay, we're going to take it. I'm going to take it to the Didn't I Just Feed You listeners community. You guys, we hope that you've joined us there. If not, remember, there's a whole free section. We want you there. It's great conversation. didn'tijustfeedyou.com/community. And then, of course, if you want those bonus episodes or other goodies, access to our recipe archive, you can always join our supporting community as well. The info is all on that same page.
Also, I'm going to add reviews like on any of the hosting sites like Apple Podcast, wherever, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. They've kind of dropped off since summer. I know y'all are busy, but we need them. They keep us going. So drop us a rating or review. Follow us on Instagram where we are at Didn't I Just Feed You, and keep in touch by signing up for our newsletter. A huge thank you to our producer, Samantha Gatzik. I'm Megan.
And I'm Stacy. Stay sane and well fed until next time.
Be sure to subscribe to Didn't I Just Feed You wherever you're listening. And don't forget to rate and review.